The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
The Full Melt.
Now the fight continues in Pennsylvania to approve medical marijuana. Advocates for it, including some parents whose children suffer from debilitating seizures and pain, showed up at a forum for medical marijuana last night. KDK's Christine D'Antonio is live now with a look at how close Pennsylvania is to passing the new law.
Well, Jen, dozens showed up at this forum in East Liberty last night. They joined Representative Ed Gainey and other panelists to discuss the legalization of medical marijuana, specifically pending legislation in the state House and Senate. Gainey says Senate Bill 3 made it out of the Senate and is now moving to the House. The legislation would make it legal for doctors to prescribe medical marijuana to patients. Parents of children who suffer from serious medical conditions, like Heather Shooker, whose 12-year-old daughter suffers 250 seizures a month from epilepsy, are fighting for this bill to pass. Her daughter's been on over 18 seizure medications, which has caused serious side effects. It's heartfelt pleas like hers that has lawmakers pushing others to get on board to legalize medical marijuana, specifically the oil extract from the plant.
The frustration is that we don't even have the opportunity to try it legally. We've seen the success stories in Colorado and so many other states, and that's all we want. We want the opportunity to try this. It should not be the last resort. It should be the first resort. We need to stay here. We need to fight, and I need to do whatever I have to do to keep Hannah comfortable.
With the Senate recently passing the bill, it is now up to the House. A recent poll shows more than 50% of Pennsylvanians support it.
Pennsylvania be the next state to legalize medical marijuana. Now that there's a new man in charge in Harrisburg, it just might be. Here's political editor John Delano.
Governor Tom Wolf met Tuesday with parents who say their children's health could be greatly improved if they had access to medical marijuana. The governor says he's all for legalizing it.
We now have a governor who is supportive of this as well. So we're really going to get a bill done.
Senators Dalen Leach and Mike Fulmer have introduced a broader version of the legislation they first introduced last fall. That bill overwhelmingly passed the Senate, but died when the House didn't act on it. Also standing in their way back then, Governor Tom Corbett, who opposed legalizing medical marijuana.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bipartisan issue. This is not a red issue. This is not a blue issue. It's probably more of a purple issue. It's an issue that is about people's health.
The new bill would expand the list of authorized medical conditions to give doctors more leeway. It also expands delivery methods to include smoking and vaporization, as well as extracted oils, edible products, and ointments.
The way to do this is to try to do it thoughtfully, intelligently, making sure that it's regulated appropriately so that we do everything we can to prevent it from being abused.
In a statement, Governor Wolf says we should not deny a physician's ability to recommend medical marijuana treatment for Pennsylvanians suffering from seizures, those affected by PTSD, cancer patients affected by chemotherapy, and Pennsylvanians suffering from many other ailments and conditions that could benefit from this effective doctor-prescribed treatment.
If this was a derivative of any other plant, the orchid or the yucca or the cactus, it would be in every CVS in the country for decades already.
This is not about the high. This is not about recreation. This is about medicine.
John Delano, KDKA TV News.
Are you high? What are you talking about? It's the Full Melt.
Give me a break. The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Okay, we're back at it again. One more time. And I'm telling you, we got a jammed-packed, full program for you today. The subject is medical marijuana. It seems like it's an endless subject. I think we may be talking about this for yet a couple years to come, at least in the advance of states that are trying to still get this done. You know, there are a number of states across the country, about half of them, that have passed medical marijuana laws for obviously attractive reasons. You know, when California did this back in 1996 and they passed the first medical marijuana referendum that happened in the United States, California didn't have any, model on which to base itself, its position, its methodology. This was entirely an experiment in criminal justice, in social policy, in health policy, in compassionate care. And it took a while. And many of the policies that happen across the United States end up starting in places like California. I mean, California represents 1/5 of the U.S. economy. It's a lot. It's significant. The population base there is astronomical. It's an attractive place to live. As a result, you have a wide diversity of people. That's not necessarily always the case in other parts of the country. So when California passed its medical marijuana initiative, without any background on which to fall, without any, acceptable research or data from a legislative standpoint, from a legal standpoint, did they have to fall back on. And so as this progressed from one state to the next, because several other states jumped on board right after that, and then a few more, and then a virtual wave of states came on board. And each time this happens, states passing new legislation try to learn from the mistakes of other states if they were made, if they can identify problems in the legislation, if they can identify, unintended consequences when they do these kinds of what they call social experimentation. There are things to be learned, and there are things to be paid attention to. It's almost inevitable that there's going to be some mistake, some unintended consequence, that hindsight being 20/20 gives you application when you're creating new policy. And it's a smart thing to do. And make no mistake about it, states borrow policy from each other, especially in the instance that they've had some success, both from getting it passed, because that whole just getting legislation passed is an entire episode amongst itself. Regardless of what was intended, regardless of what the outcome is, getting it passed is a political process. And there's horse trading that happens. But understanding what they're affecting in the long run is the goal. Trying to have the best glasses on to view that in perfect focus is the goal, I believe, of legislators trying to get this done. And so they borrow policy from other states. They do it with insurance. They do it with financial policy. They do it with criminal justice. There tends to be why reinvent the wheel if you can borrow the wheel from somebody who's already figured out how it works? It makes perfect sense. Even though the political process sometimes does not make perfect sense, borrowing information that might help you in any process, in trial and error, is a benefit. And so today, we're looking at Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is very close now to passing some medical marijuana legislation. And it seems like in places that have done this since California, a lot of them have restricted in certain ways, in an extreme way. I'll give you two examples. New York State, New Jersey. Here's a third example, Florida. Passing extremely conservative, and they're trying to be thoughtful. They're trying to be cautious. They've been beaten over the head with the drug war message that marijuana bad, police good. There's some underlying truth to some of that, just some of it. But I'm afraid the drug war messaging has really beaten this subject down so hard. It's really labeled it. It's spray painted over what was a pretty facade at one point in time. It's made it ugly. It's got graffiti on it now, this propaganda graffiti about the war on drugs. And I'm not going to get on the war on drugs subject so big right now. We'll leave that for another day. Even though it's important to understand that the war on drugs is an underlying principle that is ebbing and flowing with the tide when people try, legislators try, states try to jump on that bandwagon and get something done in a positive way. And I think the most recent thing that caused places like New Jersey and specifically Florida and New York and now Pennsylvania to act in this arena seems clearly affected by the Charlotte's Web syndrome, I'll call it. Charlotte Figge is a character, a person, an individual, a child that was portrayed on the original Weed episode that Sanjay Gupta did 3 years ago. When that came out, it was very heart-wrenching to watch this young child go through these seizures, this terrible disorder. Some 200, 300 seizures a day these kids with some of these affected disorders have. And we're not talking, passing out for a second or something like this. These are grand mal seizures. These are dangerous episodes. Health is at risk in severe ways when this happens. It makes them unfunctional as human beings. It makes it very difficult for them to be in an environment to learn in, being so young and trying to adapt to what new things come their way. How can you do that if you're affected by seizures? And so when you're looking at this from those places, New York and Florida and New Jersey, and now Pennsylvania, it seems like some of what they're doing was really started at. The impetus behind it was this message originally portrayed by Charlotte Figge on weed. And then again, they followed up with Weed 2, did some more talking about that last year. And now Sanjay Gupta on CNN has put out Weed 3. For those of you who are unaware, Weed is a kind of a documentary, a long-term documentary about medical marijuana and the 180-degree turn that Dr. Sanjay Gupta, a CNN correspondent and reporter, made about this subject 3 years ago. I mean, he was against it completely. And then did a 180 after about a year of research and said, no, I'm for medical marijuana. We're going to talk after the break with Senator Mike Fulmer from Pennsylvania, the principal sponsor of Senate Bill 3, looking to pass medical marijuana legislation in Pennsylvania. Next, right here.
You're getting the full melt.
They're parasites. They've got no contribution to this society. They're preying on our community and our kids. It's going to end badly.
We've got exactly $100,000 in cash in the back of this car. I bet there's guys right there in that prison for doing just what we're about to do.
I want the Breckenridge Cannabis Club to be a household name.
This is us pioneering a new industry.
He's going after every resort town in Colorado. His plan is brilliant.
This is a big boy operation now.
We are not the Amsterdam of the Rockies. We're Breckenridge.
Absolutely unbelievable to us that this has happened so quickly.
That's when the town erupted.
All hell can break loose.
I think we have an image to protect.
The powerful elite has definitely put the pressure on.
Everyone is playing everyone.
They're going to have a target painted on their back.
That is a real threat.
There's $2 billion to be had next year. I plan to take more than my fair share.
High Profits, Sunday night at 10 Eastern on CNN.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
You know, it's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
With this warmer weather, I get more active. Headaches and pains keep me from doing things I enjoy, like golfing and working outside my yard. Toledo Hemp Center's new location, 1415 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
For a limited time at Domino's, large two-topping pizzas are only $5.99 each when you carry out, which is why we brought in Dale.
Dale Lamroot, Domino's fastest pizza box forward.
Because when you have a $5.99 carry-out deal this amazing, the last thing you want to do is run out of boxes.
Because no box, no carry-out.
This week only, carry out large two-topping pizzas for just $5.99 each, only at Domino's.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Listen, medical marijuana doesn't happen in any state without a lot of hard work. A lot of people rolling up their sleeves, absorbing a lot of information, a lot of argumentation about, truth and fallacy. Sometimes it's done by people that are doing people's initiatives. And sometimes it's done by legislators that we've elected to get that stuff done. And so with that in mind, I'd like to welcome to the program the Honorable Senator Mike Fulmer, Pennsylvania Senator. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you and welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Look, I was in the lead up to this program, to this interview. I kind of explained to the audience about what things seem like, and what the impetus behind some of these evolutions in state legislature policy, dictation, this kind of thing happens. And I wanted to know, I guess specifically, what your bill represents, because I've read some of it. I've looked it over. I've got a lot of background on it, but I'd rather have you tell it because you're the guy that put this together and sponsored this. So could you give us a little background about what this is and maybe what was the impetus behind getting it started?
Well, let me start with how I got into this this whole debate. It started back in the late fall of 2013. Two mothers came into my Harrisburg office up at the Capitol in Harrisburg and to ask me if I would co-sponsor then Senator Dalen Leach, who's a Democrat from Pennsylvania State Senator. He had a bill it was a medical marijuana bill. Now I come from an extremely conservative district in South Central Pennsylvania. I'm considered a conservative and a Republican, and I listened to the mothers, and they laid a very compelling case, but I wasn't totally convinced until I started to do the research of the materials that they left me, and that Friday evening, that was a Wednesday, that Friday evening, I went into this whole, I was up all night, literally, going through this. I'm going like, oh my goodness, there's real medical value to cannabis. And basically, we've been lied to, and this message has to get out, and that's basically how I got into it. The goal, and of course, I'm fighting a lot of uphill battles here, was trying to have as broad a bill as possible, but I'm fighting a lot of fears to try to overcome in doing so. This year was Senate Bill 1182 last session. This year is Senate Bill 3. Now in Pennsylvania, the lower the number, the higher the priority of the bill is. to be moved.
Thank you for saying that, because I did not know that.
Yes. So last session was Senate Bill 1182, where I only had one Republican that co-signed my bill. But by the end of that year, which then we ran out of time, I did get it passed out of the Senate 43-7. So I was able to educate other Republican senators to get on board. I had all the Democrat senators, and through the work of Senator Dalen Leach, who's the co-prime sponsor of this bill. So this year we have Senate Bill 3. We're not quite done with it yet. We just got it out of my committee last week. We're moving forward this coming week. It's going to be coming out of appropriations, and then we're going to be amending on the floor. I need to get vaporization into the bill, and we also want to expand a couple of the diseases before it runs over to the House, where the real fight's going to be.
Has there been an argument over vaporization or inhalation of smoke from your conservative colleagues?
Yes, the fear is that, this is, just a bunch of people trying to recreate with a proposed medical avenue here, medicine, which it's just, I'm starting to win the day because I'm getting some doctors who are starting to come out of the woodwork here in PA to say, hey, that this medical cannabis is the right way to go, and vaporization is a safe, immediate way to deliver this alternative medication.
There's a lot of confusion and a lot of information about this subject, isn't there?
Oh my goodness, the fear is unreal. And here's in Pennsylvania, I don't know what it was like. I actually have to tell you, I enjoyed your commercials. You had some medical cannabis commercials and stuff. I thought it was very interesting. Anyway, in Pennsylvania, what I'm fighting against is that we continually want to compare cannabis with the opiates like OxyContin, Percocet, Vicodin, and Zohydra, morphine, those type of prescribed FDA-approved medications here in PA. And by the way, in Pennsylvania, we're having a huge prescription drug problem going forward.
It's not just in Pennsylvania; it's across the nation.
Well, okay. Well, in PA, it's bad, and we're having a huge heroin problem. We also have a prescription drug overdose problem, which I believe, and from the research that I was able to ascertain, that I believe medical cannabis will actually help cut back on and actually help us get all that under control. So there's where the fear lies, is that they're thinking that this is just one more avenue or one more item that's going to further exaggerate our prescription drug problem, where if they would just study and allow me to educate them, that we're going to be able to counter those things. It was Dr. Colleen Barry, Barry, from Johns Hopkins University, did a beautiful study that showed in states that have medical cannabis in place that in the first 5 years their prescription drug overdoses were down 25%. So, I mean, I just think it's the right way to go, and I believe it will actually help us. But the battle I'm facing is the battle of getting over that fear of just one more item that we're going to have to get people unaddicted from, which they just don't get it. I mean, there's where the battle is.
Well, they've been given the boogeyman story for a very long time from a lot of highly paid for sources.
Well, sir, I have to tell you, I was one of those who were scared of it. My district is highly red.
Right.
This was not something that people expected Senator Mike Fulmer to do, especially going into a re-elect year.
Right.
But after I saw what I saw, and I started to do the research, and literally, I'm also a cancer survivor, so I'm battling non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I'm not doing this for me. I mean, I wish I knew about this. I wish it would have changed some of my treatments. But anyway, after all the research I've seen, I'm going like, the bottom line is, Dave, I never felt more right about a bill than this bill, to make a long story short.
Before those women came into your office and kind of opened your eyes to this subject, were you familiar with Dr. Sanjay Gupta and his exposés on CNN?
No. And I have to tell you that. And now I will tell you this, though. I always thought it was kind of strange that if I could get a prescription for Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, Zohydra, and morphine, why would I not be able to get a prescription for medical cannabis, for cannabis? I always felt that, so I was kind of open to it, but politically speaking, it wasn't something that I dreamed of doing. I'm going to be honest, but once I got into this and started to do the research, I'm going, my goodness, these parents, their message got to get heard. These veterans, their message got to get heard. And chronic pain folks who don't want to feel like zombies anymore on their prescribed medications, their message got to get heard. Because here's what happens in Pennsylvania. I don't know how it is in Michigan, but in Pennsylvania, we Republicans own the majority in both the Senate and the House.
Same in Michigan.
So, they do that in Michigan too?
They do right now. They're in control of both the House and the Senate and the governorship.
Well, we just lost our Republican governor. We have a Democrat governor right now, and Governor Tom Wolf. But which, by the way, he'll sign my bill with no problem. I just got to get it on the floor and a vote in the House, and we win. But anyway, there was great concern that I was concerned that Dalen Leach's bill would never been heard by our caucus. So I went to Senator Leach and asked him if he would want to go with me as a co-prime on the bill, and so that we can get this message out and move his efforts forward, which we did. We're working together now, and we've been taken a long way in a relatively short time, legislatively speaking. To folks on the outside, we don't go fast enough, but believe me, we came a long way with this issue, especially here in Pennsylvania. We can sometimes be on the backward side.
I played a television reporter's piece at the very top of this program that you didn't have the benefit of hearing. And in that piece, it actually quoted somebody was quoted as saying that this isn't a red issue or a blue issue, that this is really a purple issue. Are you getting some bipartisan support across the board here in your state?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, sir, here's what we have going on. I'm a would be considered a conservative Republican, probably more libertarian-leaning Republican from a very conservative area here in Pennsylvania, very conservative area, heart of the Bible Belt of Pennsylvania. To be honest with you, we have a lot of Amish, Mennonite, and so forth.
God bless them all.
That's right, brother. I mean, and actually, they'd be great farmers. This and industrial hemp, brother. I'm telling you, this is the way to go for PA. I'm just hoping we can get it done. But Dalen Leach is from southeast Pennsylvania, and he's from a very liberal part of just outside of Philadelphia. We are the two most unlikely people to work together on the bill, but we're able and have been able to put all our differences aside, throw down the swords, pick up the plowshares, and work together in trying to get a good bill done to put people above politics, and there's where we are right now, and it's been a great experience. We're not done. We're not close to being done. We have a huge battle ahead of us, but we're farther than we were last year, and we're working together, both our staffs. It's equally working together, and then we have a great grassroots support base called Campaign for Compassion. And it's all what you would call just citizen-based, mothers and fathers of children with epilepsy, veterans suffering from PTSD, cancer patients, you name it. These are all, and we have no big money behind us. I mean, this is all done on a shoestring, but we've made it a statewide network, and we're just doing it from the grassroots level forward.
I can tell you that your story sounds a lot like a story that I know from here in Michigan, just in following this through here. This program is a nationally based program, and we don't put anything on the air on this show that doesn't have some relevance to all states. But just in following this in Michigan, Republican Senator Mike Calton, Michigan House Representative Mike Calton, he's a chiropractor, and he also was opposed to this at some point. And he had an introduction, like you did, from one of his constituents. Mm-hmm. And it opened his eyes, and this was an old woman who came in and said, look, I can't move during the day, and when I take these medibles at night, somebody gave me some candy with cannabis in it, and I take these at night, and I get up, and I can walk the stairs on my own. I mean, her face was awesome. Her face was lit up, that there was an answer for her that didn't debilitate her.
Right.
And so he went through much the same process that you've described, is this tremendous educating of colleagues, of other legislators, trying to get them on the bandwagon to understand the truth behind this matter. And it's taken him some time. I mean, in Michigan, it's taken him probably 3 years to get enough people to pay attention and over time, educate enough people. Was there a fast track to that in your place?
Well, actually, no. I don't know how we got as far as we did so far. And by the way, we have nothing done yet, so we're not finished. As I said, back in late 2013, November right before Thanksgiving, is when I was first introduced to it. Decided I was going to do a bill. Contacted Senator Dalen Leach and asked if he would want to work together, scrap his bill, pull things from his bill, work together on the bill together, and go forward. When we first started in 2014, I mean, I was laughed at. I was called Marijuana Mike, one toke over the line Falmer.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean, you name it. But we just kept focused on educating. And little by little, I gained support in my caucus, which then I got the eye of my leadership, which we were able to run it on the floor, which was amazing. I have to tell you, we didn't get it all the way done because we ran out of time as it got over to the House, but we got it out of the Senate, 43-7. Now remember,
wow.
I only had one other Republican, so I needed to pick up 18 other Republicans to go with us. But it was an educational process, nothing because of anything special about me, sir. It was a combination of total teamwork of the grassroots, of the parents and the patients, and of course Senator Dalen Leach has been a great ally and working together, and him keeping his caucus together and so forth. It's just been it was a true team effort type thing. Now we're not claiming any victory because we're not done, and plus I got to get vaporization in, and I got to expand to at least a few more diseases. The good thing about our bill is that the board is going to be totally independent of politics. There'll be no legislators on the board. We're going to have doctors, nurses, medical, what we call research experts, like biochemists and things of that nature, to allow the science to dictate further delivery systems and diseases, which could be added on after the bill's done.
Senator Fulmer, we're hitting a break here. Can you stick with us through the break? I've got a couple of things.
Not a problem at all.
Terrific. I got a couple of things that might be helpful in helping to educate colleagues. I'm not sure, but we'll give it.
I'm waiting, so thank you.
We'll give it a shot. Stand by. We'll hit the break, and we'll come back with some information.
Full Melt.
It started with Weed 1.
Some have called it a watershed moment.
Then came Weed 2.
It's absurd that we would have to do this to get medicine.
Now Dr. Sanjay Gupta is at it again, and he's reaching higher than ever with Weed 3.
I never thought I would be smoking weed in the hospital.
The movement behind it.
We demand this plant go through the process of the FDA.
The radical research.
I have to say, I'm kind of stunned.
Weed 3, the marijuana revolution.
Each week, Pot Pitch takes a look at different medical or legal pot business as they attempt to seek investment capital and partners in order to take their business to the next level. What do investors like?
And which entrepreneurs are shown the door?
Real venture capitalists, smart entrepreneurs, and exciting business models in a brand new industry. Cannabis. Pot Pitch. Find out what this new marijuana industry will look like and who its players will be. Real deals, real people, real decisions. Pot Pitch at potpitch.com and featured on the Full Melt Radio Show.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
With this warmer weather, I get more active. Headaches and pains keep me from doing things I enjoy, like golfing and working outside my yard. Toledo Hemp Center's new location, 1415 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
So this is Brian Rogers
And Caitlin McGuire.
from CNN's High Profits.
And you're listening to The Full Melt Show.
So we're talking about medical marijuana and the new legislation pending, coming forth in Pennsylvania, trying to establish that program there. And our guest on the program today is Senator Mike Fulmer. Welcome back to the program, Mike.
Well, thank you. And again, I have been enjoying your commercials. They're awesome. I got to tell you, man.
Let me just say this. I've done this program here in Michigan for 5 years now, a local show for the longest time. It's been only recently that we branched out nationally and gone every day. Because there's so much to talk about with this. I could do a show 2 hours about this every day and not run out of material, honestly.
I can believe you. I was so amazed in all the research. That first Friday night that I looked, I was up all night, literally, looking from like 7 o'clock at night to about 4:30 the next morning.
When I met, just referring back to the commercial thing, back when I started this so long ago, it was in much in response to the same kind of thing that got you kind of turning your head on this. I have a personal connection because I'm a medical marijuana patient myself.
Okay.
And I've also been in broadcasting forever. So I figured it would be kind of, an important thing to tie the two together and use that as a powerful, potent tool to get, appropriate information to people. But the commercial end of it was a very scary thing. And I tying this into our conversation, I noticed that your legislation, as I see it, online, as it stands right now, outlaws advertising on television and radio.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Is this one of those political horse trading things you had to do?
Yes.
It's part of the ugly part of politics, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. If it was up to me, it would have been. And look, and again, I am a social conservative.
Right,
okay?
right. I get this.
So I mean, I'm not out to try to destroy families and so forth, but the fear of this is so great, and the misinformation is so great that to try to overcome the fear, there's certain things that you trade. I think down the road, though, I think we're going to be able to get rid of that.
It's baby steps. It's
going to take some time here in PA and such. But I got to get a program up and running. I got to get the board up and running. We got to get this going because it's going to take us a bit to get it going. The most important thing I'm trying to do is make sure that what we get going is actually functional, that people are going to have safe, compassionate access as soon as we can get things going. I don't want this to happen like it's been happening in New Jersey and up in New York, where some of these programs get passed, but they're not really functional. Sounds like you guys are functional out there.
We are, but we're not in Michigan. I'll just give you a brief history. In Michigan, in 2008, when we passed the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act through a referendum, we at the same time hired its principal opponent, the guy who was putting all the TV ad money against it, as our attorney general in this state. So there was some considerable opposition, some conflict of interest between those two parties, and there was going to be some fire that went down. And as a result, this was minimalized in the courts, and there was a whole rally against it. And the police did this huge crackdown, and they ended up using what was intended to be a shield for medical marijuana patients as a sword. And so it's really unfortunate here, and I'd really rather not see anybody go through that pain in another state.
Right. Well, here's in PA. We have a little different dynamic going right now. Now, last year, before our gubernatorial elections, I had a Republican governor that, as much as I tried to share with him as a fellow conservative that this would be the right thing to do, was not going to sign any bill. So I had to work on a bill that I was veto-proof, which means instead of in Pennsylvania to get anything done, I got to get 26 senators to go along with me. Well, 25 others beside myself, and then get 102 House members, and then, of course, get the governor to sign it. The governor vetoes it. Now that shoots it up to like 38 senators I need, and then like 180 and 30 House members to override a veto. So I was fighting a fight with one hand tied behind my back. Dalen and I were, Senator Leach, were for a bit there. So now we have a different dynamic. We have a governor that will sign as broad as bills that we can get to him.
So the waters have parted a little bit.
Excuse me?
The waters have parted a little bit.
Yeah. We have an opportunity, and not that I agree with everything what our present governor wants to do budget-wise and so forth, but on this issue we see eye to eye, and we want to help people, and he gets it. The administration has totally taken a whole different change. So if I'm going to get it out of the Senate. If I can get a vote on the House floor, we can get this done. We got the votes.
I think you're going to. I just have a swimming feeling that this is going to happen for you. And look, I have to thank you personally for taking this subject on in the face of such opposition and threat, because this had to be threatening politically to you at some point. This had to be threatening from friendship standpoint with some people. I would imagine there's a lot of controversy that swims around this subject, and I have to thank you for taking that on.
Well, you have to understand and I'm not here to broadcast, but my faith is very important to me. I'm a devout, Bible-believing Presbyterian. I'm an old-school Calvinist, actually. I'd probably get along with some of your Reform guys out there in Michigan. But anyway, it was an issue that some were looking at me like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
Farmer, what is this? You're into pot? What's going on here? And all that stuff. But then once I was able to, I just felt as though I had to just continue to educate with the facts, and we had the facts. I had the truth. I was ready to go. So you just had to overcome that and overcome the fear. I scared the bejeebers out of my chief of staff. When I told him I was going to do this, and we just had redistricting, so a portion of my district moved westward in Pennsylvania. So about 43% of my district, my new district, didn't know who I was. I wasn't their senator before. So
it's like the perfect political storm, isn't it, there?
Yeah, it was. And it was a reelect. But you know what? Through it all, I didn't even get a primary opponent.
There's somebody looking out for you. There's something shining down on you. It's the opposite of a dark cloud hanging over you. I love that.
And then I didn't even get a general election opponent, which was unfortunate because I think campaigns should have opponents. I think it's best for the process. But in this case, because of the importance of this issue, it allowed me to stay focused on trying to help educate my fellow members going forward and helping the patients, the moms, and so forth with Campaign for Compassion. So we were able to I was able to do that without worrying about, a campaign.
Listen, we've only got a couple minutes left in this interview. I just wanted to bring to your attention the idea that some tools in helping people to understand this process, because another person I'm extremely thankful for, and we interviewed him on this program a couple of weeks ago before the Weed 3 thing came out. Have you had a chance to see any of the documentaries by Sanjay Gupta?
I have now, yes. I've seen them all now.
Amazing testimonials, and from a very, very credible source.
Yes.
I think Sanjay Gupta is an amazing man by himself. The things that he's accomplished in his lifetime at his age are outstanding.
Oh, for sure.
And so I just want to play this little piece from Weed 3. I'm sure you've seen it, but perhaps you could, send links to your colleagues because this program is available online in its entirety, all three of them. Perhaps you could, and I'm just going to play this, but this has to do with vaporization and inhaling. Now, this is not smoke. This is vapor. It doesn't contain any of the carcinogens, just the active ingredient.
It heats it up right before combustion.
Right. Here, I'm going to play this little piece. I hope you can hear it, but for the benefit, let's listen to it. It's kind of self-explanatory.
A patient using marijuana, like this, in a hospital room.
It's unique. It's different. I never thought I would be smoking weed in the hospital.
This is San Francisco General, an academic teaching hospital that, because of Dr. Abrams, has a stash of marijuana in their pharmacy. It is stored next to all the other medications.
Get ready.
And Abrams is using it to see if it can relieve chronic pain in patients with a rare blood disorder. Janelle Lachose is a painter. She was also born with sickle cell anemia and has been in pain for as long as she can remember.
You can exhale now.
She says marijuana makes her nearly pain-free.
How long after you smoke do you start to have some sort of relief of your pain?
Instantly. It's like instantly.
Within minutes?
Yeah, a couple minutes afterwards, you feel the relief of pain.
Janelle's in the study because she wants to know for sure, is marijuana safer and more effective than powerful painkillers and narcotics?
With marijuana, even though I may be buzzed, I can interact with life more so than with pills.
Treating pain is the most common use for medical marijuana.
And that's where that ends. Because it seems like there's no place in the legislation that's pending right now that talks about pain issues, chronic pain. And I think that's such a great testimonial right there, that little piece. It would seem, Senator, that maybe if you gave him this one little package, even if it's just a little segment like that, that maybe some people would pay attention to this from a broader standpoint.
Well, I'm going to be, I believe I've been working the members. I believe I'm going to be able to get my vaporization. We're looking at Crohn's, and we're looking at diabetes, and we're looking at chronic pain. We're looking at a pain aspect to include those folks who are suffering from unexplainable pains, whether it's from back surgeries or whatever.
So in many of these cases, you're right that cannabis can be used as a substitute to analgesic opiates,
yes,
which are highly addictive, which will leave you with a lifelong addiction that you will fight the rest of your life.
Yes.
And then eventually end up seeking out heroin, which you've seen for yourself as a bad problem on the streets there.
Oh my goodness, yes, and it's huge, and it's not because of marijuana. It's because of OxyContin, Percocet, Vicodin, and Zohydra. I'm telling you, those are the gateways, and that's what's happening right now, and that's why I believe getting this done, and by including pain, which we're going to be including in an amendment on the floor next week with vaporization and a couple other diseases. This is going to help battle that, and that's how I'm trying to sell it.
Senator, we're hitting a break, and I'm really sorry. I really have to wish you luck on your campaign. If there's anything we can do to help out, please reach out. I have to thank you.
Will. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back with more after this.
You're getting the full melt.
Each week, Pot Pitch takes a look at different medical or legal pot business as they attempt to seek investment capital and partners in order to take their business to the next level. What do investors like?
And which entrepreneurs are shown the door?
Real venture capitalists, smart entrepreneurs, and exciting business models in a brand new industry. Cannabis. Pot Pitch. Find out what this new marijuana industry will look like and who its players will be. Real deals, real people, real decisions. Pot Pitch at potpitch.com and featured on the Full Melt Radio Show.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
It started with Weed 1.
Some have called it a watershed moment.
Then came Weed 2.
It's absurd that we would have to do this to get medicine.
Now Dr. Sanjay Gupta is at it again, and he's reaching higher than ever with Weed 3.
I never thought I would be smoking weed in the hospital.
The movement behind it.
We demand this plant go through the process of the FDA.
The radical research.
I have to say I'm kind of stunned.
Weed 3, the marijuana revolution.
They're parasites. They've got no contribution to this society. They're preying on our community and our kids. And it's going to end badly.
We've got exactly $100,000 in cash in the back of this car. I bet there's guys right there in that prison for doing just what we're about to do.
I want the Breckenridge Cannabis Club to be a household name.
This is us pioneering a new industry.
He's going after every resort town in Colorado. His plan is brilliant.
This is a big boy operation now.
We are not the Amsterdam of the Rockies. We're Breckenridge.
Absolutely unbelievable to us that this has happened so quickly.
That's when the town erupted.
All hell can break loose.
I think we have an image to protect.
The powerful elite has definitely put the pressure on.
Everyone is playing everyone.
They're going to have a target painted on their back. That is a real threat.
There's $2 billion to be had next year. I plan to take more than my fair share.
High Profits, Sunday night at 10 Eastern on CNN. It's the Full Melt radio show. So you can find us here Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every day talking about medical marijuana, cannabis, hemp. The subject is not going to go away. So we just had a very interesting conversation with Senator Mike Fulmer from Pennsylvania. A very, very interesting conversation about what could be happening in the future there. Will there be dispensaries in Pennsylvania offering adequate materials for people to use to relieve their pain, their suffering, their debilitating medical condition? That's the question. And it seems to me, unquestionably, that Senator Fulmer is on that track. And it may not be in exactly the form that you'd like it to be at first. This is a baby step proposition. And originally, I wanted to reach out and talk about industry in cannabis because there is a tremendous economic benefit that comes along with the transformation of this marketplace. And so I'd like to invite on the program now Ian James from Canna Advisors out in Colorado. Welcome to the program, Ian.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on the show this evening.
Look, this was you did probably not have the benefit of listening to our previous conversation, but I can tell you leading into it based on a High Times article that I saw posted this morning. I think they did it yesterday. It highly chastised this bill. And so, and then I read some more about it and I thought, oh, wow, this is horrible. But after talking to Senator Fulmer about this, I am very optimistic that they're going to get this done in a form that may not make perfect sense. It never does. Legislation is not a perfect process. But I think it's going to happen. And I was talking to you off the air some days ago about reading the tea leaves about who might be next. And you pointed directly to Pennsylvania, and I was thinking Ohio. What do you have to say about all this?
You know, I think Pennsylvania looks good, and kudos to Senator Fulmer for his efforts and his passion. The bill may not be taking form quite the way we would like to see, but as you indicated earlier, it's a good, solid baby step. It opens the door. It establishes a footprint, and kudos for that. Politics is a difficult world. And there's often a lot of compromise. Pennsylvania's coming together in a way that looks very similar to New York, in that we're talking oils only, topicals, tinctures, no smokable flower, no vaporizable flower. I understand the logic and the intent behind that, and overall I support it. Whatever it's going to take to get the industry established in a state. I think once the establishment comes, the tax revenues will come, and additional attention will be paid to the program.
Ian, you guys, as a company at Canna Advisors, do consultation to people across the country as these markets emerge. Can you tell us about yourself a little bit and how you're involved in the industry?
Absolutely. Canna Advisors we're an established consulting firm, founded in 2012, really by demand, not by. It wasn't a strategic decision for us to get into consulting. The founders of Canna Advisors received dispensary permit number 11 in the state of Colorado, 7, in the state of Colorado. They were approached by a group in Connecticut to go for a license there. It was a very competitive market for cultivation licenses for the state. Took that on, and that was really the start of Canna Advisors. And the backbone of our business is in license acquisition and in business plan development, financial modeling, business assessment services. We also offer design services and things like that. But, when we're talking about Pennsylvania and a new market coming online, depending on the dynamics of the program, it may be, competitive to extremely uncompetitive with extremely high stakes required to have a viable run for a license. And that's what we help people do. These are government, responses, and they're many hundreds of pages, and we essentially quarterback that effort.
Do people, in your experience, tend to lead into this industry blindly from a business standpoint? Hey, I see an opportunity just as an entrepreneur, as a business person, I'm going to dive into it. Do they ever come to you in tatters and say, oh, no, I didn't expect all of this. What can I do?
A very interesting question, Steve. I'll tell you, we have all kinds of people come through our office. Those who are, looking to make a quick dollar and saying, hey, if I put up $1 million or $2 million, how can I get my money out in a year? And that's a pretty tough proposition. On the other hand, we have people come through our office who are very passionate about the medicinal value of marijuana, and they want to help people, and they want to get involved, and they want to be good stewards for society. So it's a real interesting mix. It's an interesting time in our industry. We're still in that early adapter phase, but we're in a further point in the adapter phase where everybody's coming out of the woodwork. Everybody wants a piece of it. Those of us that have been in the industry for a while are we actually have a responsibility to kind of vet people because we want to who are responsible operators.
Well, you want to make sure that you're not, diving into somebody who's like really a criminal element that's trying to mix into and be legitimate.
Correct.
There's got to be a lot of eyes on that, I would imagine.
That's really what all the traceability is about. You asked me a little bit about my background. I actually came from MMJ Freeway before joining Canna Advisors, and that's the leading traceability software platform for the industry, and it's a huge component of making this industry viable. You look at these new markets as they emerge in the states when they come online. Security and diversion control is an ever-increasing component, and the patient component is also increasing. I think patient education and patient orientation of an application is becoming ever more important in the race for a license.
Look, I'm just going to open it up and whore it out. Pardon the expression, but let's just talk about, because I'm sure we've got people from Pennsylvania listening intently to what's going on because they got their finger on that pulse going, what's going to happen? Is that heartbeat going to stay going on, or is it going to stop? This is going to affect some people directly. If there are people in Pennsylvania listening right now that might need some consultation, that might have already a business plan in mind, that would like to move forward as soon as they can, given the passage of this law, when it happens, if it happens, how can they get in touch with somebody like Canna Advisors?
Google's a great resource. We spend a little effort on coming up top. So when you do a search, and Canna Advisors will be right there at the top of the list. But I do encourage prospects to get engaged early. We've had numerous cases where people will engage us, a month, 3 weeks before an application is due, versus people that we've been engaged with for maybe 3, 4, 5 months to prepare for the application submission. And those that do their due diligence and tee things up clearly have a tighter application and a stronger presentation.
Did you see
I encourage people to, get involved early.
Did you see the article today? I saw it today talking about if you want to be a grower in New York, that the application is going to cost you a $10,000 non-refundable deposit and $200,000 for that permit.
That's correct. The stakes continue to rise. And, you look at New York with 5 licenses for a population of 9 million people. It will be the most competitive application race to date. And I would anticipate that the parties that succeed in winning those licenses have applications budgets upwards of $1 million. This is a new dynamic for our industry.
I'm sure it clearly is. Just a couple minutes left in the program. It seems that in some states they've passed some, including right there in Colorado, that there's some limitation about who can invest in business in this market space.
It really varies by state, and you're correct that certain states will put certain limitations on ownership percentages. When you're in a competitive application, clearly this is a tax revenue for the state, and if you've got your team stacked with people that have a good tax history in the state, that's going to look good on your application. With that said, going for an application is becoming, the barriers to entry continue to rise. It's becoming a more and more expensive proposition. It's pretty common to need to raise money. There is a lot of money from out of state, regardless of what state you're targeting, that is looking to get into the industry. And you really just need to look at the regulations in play for that specific market. What are the requirements? What kind of scoring preferences have they outlined? Typically, the scores issued that are pretty much cut and dry, but then there's what they call bonus points, and you get bonus points for having investors in state versus out of state. And,
it sounds like
probably the yes.
Sounds like a whole formula there. Ian James from Canna Advisors, thank you for coming on the program and kind of giving us a background of the industry that follows transformation in the marketplace with medical marijuana and retail cannabis. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on the show, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
The Full Belt Show is a production of TFM Media.